everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Cam, and today I'm going to be ranking my palette video, or my face palettes, sorry. I got the inspiration from this from Samantha March's recent video where she ranked her face palettes. I think she had 14. Sitting here in front of me, I have 12 face palettes. After I went through my drawer, did decide I want to declutter 2 of them. That is the TARDIS Pro Glow sculpting palette. This one has a cream bronzer, a powder bronzer, and then 4 highlights in it. 1 highlight's too subtle, 2 highlights they're too deep for me, and this highlight's the only highlight I'd really use. And this bronzer down here is the only bronzer I'd really use. I don't like the shade of this other bronzer, and I do have 2 other Tarte palettes that I am keeping in my collection, so I didn't feel like I needed 2 of these because I recently got one in a BoxyCharm. You'll see in just a moment. And the other palette that I'm decluttering is the Tarte Park Avenue Princess in here. This is made for, I believe, a more warmer skin tone. I am very fair, so I don't like these 2 bronzers because they have shimmer in them. This one I would use, it has a little bit of shimmer in it, and this one is solely matte. So they've got 2 sparkly bronzers, one with a little bit of shimmer in it, and a matte one. I will use these, but the color's not right and they make me look orange, so I won't use any of the bronzers in the palette and these 2 setting powders. I'd prefer to reach over for compact over just this, so I decided I would give this away to somebody who could get some use out of it. So now I only have 12 face palettes to rank. Sitting down and going through all of my face palettes was really hard. Because I like all of them. Like those 2 Tarte palettes, I didn't want to get rid of them, but largely speaking, I have 14 palettes. Do I really need all 14? The answer is no. Those 2 didn't match my color. Like they're not bad palettes. The formula is great. They just aren't the perfect shades for my skin tone, and I feel like somebody else will get extreme love out of them rather than them just sitting in my drawer and not getting any love or any use. So I figure if I can give it to a better home, I'd love to. I am kind of doing this video the same setup as Samantha March did. As in, she did anything that had 2 or more face products, i.e. a bronzer, blush, highlight, or pressed powder in it. And I'm doing mine the exact same way. And without giving anything away, let's just get right into it. So my number 12 palette was kind of a disappointment. Okay, let me just show you what it is so I can openly talk about it. This is the Natasha Sedona Diamond and Glow palette. Okay, now let me tell you why I was disappointed in this product. I did not see this in store. I just put it in my cart because I kind of really wanted it. So this blush here, like, I only rank this as my last spot because I only use this blush shade, and I don't use it very often. I keep it in my collection because here's that blush. It is like a soft baby pink. I don't have anything else like it in my collection, so I did want to hold on to it, but this is the only shade I'll use in here. I know they have beautiful eye palettes with a great formulation. It's just this one is solely just glitter, and it's not even like, it's not coming up on camera very well, but it's just glitter, and it's not even a very dense glitter. It's a very like, ooh, there's a little bit of glitter, and it just, I don't like glittery highlights. I just don't like the highlight, but the blush is great formula-wise and color-wise when I do need that very nice baby tone pink. But other than that, this only made it to number 12 because I only use half the palette, basically. My number 11 palette is the Kat Von D Shade and Light Contour Palette. This is only at the bottom because of here, I only use this bronzer here. This one I'll use for like an eyeshadow shade, but it's too dark to be an everyday bronzer shade. This shade here is too warm toned for my skin tone. It makes me kind of look orange. I will use this setting powder, but it's kind of hard to get my brush into. So other than that, I love the formula. I love the color of the shades that I do use. So I was more than happy to keep this in my collection because I really do like it. And I am making quite a big dip on this shade right here. So yes, this comes in at my number 11. So my number 10 would be the BH Studio Pro Contour Palette. Out of this palette, I use this shade to brighten up things, or when I need a nice good white shade. I use this shade and this shade to set my under eyes, and I use this shade and this shade to set my entire face, and I'll use this shade also to brighten up the other eyes. These three here I'll use as a bronzer tone. I try to like swirl them amongst the three. These two are a bit too dark, but again, I can use them for eyeshadow. So I really do like this palette. You can see I've hit pan on this one. I'm about ready to hit pan on this one and these two here. So I really do enjoy this palette, and it's 10 pounds for 10 bucks. So who can go wrong with that? I really do enjoy this palette. The only thing that would make this better is if it had a mirror, but I would say this is more for a light to medium skin tone. But now let's move on to my number 9 item, and my number 9 item is the Tarte TARDIS Pro Glow To Go eyeshadow palette. About a year ago, this was the top dog to compete with me. This was my go-to bronzer and highlight. I think I had another highlight that I used over this one, but I loved this bronzer. It was my jam. I still do love it, but I have other bronzers that I have come to love just a little bit more. My collection has expanded a little bit, so this one has been dethroned, unfortunately. I'll probably keep this until I run out of this bronzer and then declutter it. But these highlights aren't, this one's more yellow and this one is more of a white, so sometimes I mix them together and get a nice highlight. So since I have 12 palettes, I grouped them into 4, so those were my bottom 4. Number 8 spot goes to the NARS Blush Palette. Blush and highlight, I believe. Yep, blush and highlight. We've got 5 blushes, a color corrector, I like to think, because it's purple, maybe it's the blush, I don't know. And then a highlight over here. I ranked this one because I have been on a blush craze lately, like blush palette here, blush palette there. I'm looking for more blush palettes, and I'm looking for a good drugstore blush palette. If you have any recommendations, please leave them down below in the comment box. And if you hear me stuttering, I just did get my tongue pierced and I'm going through the healing process. It's been about a week and a half right now, so if I have a lisp, that's what it's from. So it will go away. Just give me a little bit of healing time. So I've got the 5 blushes, and I do really love this blush. You got a pinky, a nude, more of a glossier top, and then a rich coral. And I do really like these. The pigment's great. This highlight, like, woochow, it's really nice. So this comes in at my number 8. My number 7 is the Too Faced Natural Face Palette. This is what it looks like. I chose this for my number 7 because you do have all 3 categories. I have 2 bronzers, 2 blushes, and 2 highlights, which means I really have 3 bronzers, 3 blushes, and 3 highlights from mixing them together as well. I have more of a mauve nude, more of a pinky coral, more of a like shimmery bronze, a matte bronze, and then these 2 highlights. One is more yellow and one is a little bit more, like, I would say goldy pink shift to it. So I do really like this palette. I'm not a total fan of smells in my palette, but I don't really mind that too much because I find it fades off throughout the day. And I do get some use out of this palette, and I like that it's an all-stop shop, plus you get like this huge mirror, so it's great for travel. But and the packaging is kind of like unique. It comes up in the middle and it's kind of like domed. So I do really like that as well. My number 6 palette is from Benefit. It is the Cheek Leaders Pink Squad. Comes with the Hula bronzer, the Dallas bronzer, Tickle, California, and Dandelion. These blushes I really, really love. This bronzer here I have in another palette that is a little bit higher, and then this Tickle shade is a highlight, but it's more of a pinky highlight, and I don't really use pink highlights all that much. So yeah, I had this one in another palette. I don't really use pink highlights that much. I do really love these blushes, and I feel like this bronzer is a bit too deep for my liking personally. So if I already have that, so that doesn't really count. That one I don't prefer, and that one I don't prefer. I only really have these two blushes. So, but I do like these more than the Natural Face plus this Hula. I really love this bronzer, and I don't need to modify it. So I wanted this one higher than the Natural Face one. So this is the Benefits Cheek Leaders palette. That's my second set of 4. Now, my last set of 4, these are my top 4 palettes. Like, if I got rid of everything and only had these, so my number 5 palette is the Cover FX Perfector Face Palette. I did get this in a boxy charm. Making sure I didn't get any, I do really, really enjoy this palette. It comes with a bronzer, a blush, 3 highlighters, and a, they call it a finishing powder. It's a powder with a little bit of shimmer to it. These highlights I do enjoy. I can get use out of them, especially if I mix them. They are a little bit deeper, but if I mix them with this brightening shade here or a little bit of this finishing powder, it does a great job. This contour shade, I cannot get enough of it. It is spectacular. And if I'm doing a neutral eye look, I can get away with this blush just perfectly fine. I don't have as much use out of the blush as I do the bronzer, just because if different looks call for different colors or blushes. That wraps up my second group of 4. My last group of 4 is my top 4 face palettes. If I were to get rid of everything and only keep these, I would be happy. I'm not saying that I'm going to do that, because I love makeup, I love my collection. I'm not getting rid of it, but if I were to do it, I would survive. My number 4 palette would be the TARDIS Pro Glow palette. This is the one that I got in the boxy charm, which is why I got rid of the other one. And it comes with 2 bronzers down here, 2 highlights, and 2 blushes. Both of these highlights will work for my skin tone. One is a champagne, champagne highlights are my go-to. And this one has more of a pink, gold flip a little bit, or more of a silver, a pinky silver flip, sorry. This one is a bit warm for me, but in a cool tone bronzer. Now for blushes, you've got more of a pink tone one and more of a mauve tone one. I really wish they would have given you a lighter and darker, but I am happy with both these shades. These shades will get the job done. These are more wearable shades, so I can appreciate the neutral blushes in here. So I ranked this with number 4. I really do like the formula, which I'm really excited. I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, whatever. I honestly would have preferred one big mirror rather than 2 little ones, if that makes sense. But can't have your cake and eat it too, and nowadays. So I like it. It's innovative, but the bigger mirror would have been just a wee bit better. Coming in at my number 3 palette is the NARS Exposed palette. I think they did an incredible job with this palette. You've got a bronzer here, a highlight here, and then you've got, these pans look similar look similar in the pan, but this one is more of a mauve and this one is more of a coral. This one is like a nude neutral bronzer and this one is more of a light coral. I like all of these shades. If I pull this out, I can either mix them together and make a perfect blush or just go in it, be perfectly fine. So I really do enjoy this palette and this formula as well. Plus the packaging is just stunning. Like, look at that. And it's got this little lip and it feels really nice. So only extra bonus points for that. Now, my number 2 palette is my other Benefit palette, and this one takes home the cake. This one and my number 1 palette are tied. I didn't know which way I wanted to go, but ooh, I think I want to put this one on my number 1. Hold on, let me look. No, this is my number 2. So I've got my Hoola, which I've been getting a lot of use out of, and this shade Cookie, like, woo-wee. I bought this and had it in my collection for a few days, and then I heard Jaclyn Hill talk about, she had just the trio, not the one with 6, but she had the trio, and she was raving about this shade, Cookie, which they sell now in singles. So many people raved about it. Now Tiki and Cookie are both in the single packaging, but here's that shade just at the top. It is stunning. Like, I would put this at number 1 just for that. But these 2 blushes here, one of them is more nude and neutral, and one of them is more corally, orangey, like rusty, like luminoso Milani is how I would explain that. Just not as much like shimmer and like transparency, but more pigment in it. And then I have, and then Hoola Caramel, which is just a wee bit too deep or too orange for me, but I can make it work on my tan days. So I love that one too. And I don't know if it has a smell, but I do really enjoy this formula. The packaging is great. I think the $60 I spent on this bad boy was worth every penny, because I know just one Hoola this size is $30, and one blush this size is $30. So for the price of 2, you get 3 more. So that's just insane in my opinion. So I think I saved $90 worth of product in here, so that's crazy. And dun 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 dun, time for my number 1 spot. And this is kind of crazy because I got it for free. I got it for exchanging my Ulta point perks in for, and I wanted it when it first launched. No, it first launched and a few weeks later had gone by, and I still wanted it, and I still had my eye on it, and I checked to see how much Ulta points I had, and I had enough points to purchase, to more than purchase this. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to treat myself, cash in a few of my points, and buy this palette. So I did, and it was absolutely free. It is the Beca, Chloe, and Malika collaboration, and this is the Made with Love by Chloe. So this is Chloe's, not Malika's version. And this bronzer is my favorite. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but like, I have gone through that, but in like, you can definitely tell, but that one is like barely there. I have used her a lot. This highlight is great, especially if I put a cream highlight underneath, or if I wet my brush. This highlight does the job just fine. And then these 2 blushes, I have more of a pinky nude and then more of a corally nude. So I've got 2 different blush options, and I'd prefer to have a working bronzer, a highlight that I can work with or manipulate, and an option for a blush, because you can have a warm tone look, you can have a coral tone look, and if you have the wrong blush paired with it, it's just going to look funny. So I really, really, really love this palette. I think she did such a good job. It is my number 1. It takes home the cake. I love this palette. I don't know why people don't talk about it enough, but personally, this palette is just my jam. So that was my number 1 spot, and that was all 12 palettes. I did talk about the Tarte Park Avenue Princess and the Tarte TARDIS Pro Glow palette that I did get rid of. They just weren't right for my collection. I'm going to donate them to a good home so they can get some use. And I think, without further ado, that wraps it up. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!